Emma's heart nearly stopped when her phone buzzed at exactly 7:30 a.m. That could only mean one thing. Lisa, her impossibly organized best friend, was calling with yet another urgent party planning update. "Good morning, sunshine." Lisa's cheerful voice rang out before Emma could even mumble a hello. "I need you at the Grand Hotel by noon. The birthday boy's sister is panicking about the centerpieces, and you're the only one who can talk sense into these people." Emma groaned, pressing her face into the pillow. "Lisa, I have actual paying clients to meet today. You know, the ones that help me pay my rent. I'll buy you lunch for a week," Lisa bargained. "Besides, Kira Hammond needs your expertise. She's totally lost without you." Emma sighed, already knowing she'd give in. Her event planning business was still in its infancy, and she couldn't afford to turn down networking opportunities, even unpaid ones. Especially when they involved the Hammond family, who seemed to know half of Portland's elite. "Fine. Noon, but you owe me more than lunch." 3 hours later, Emma found herself weaving through the Grand Hotel's opulent lobby. The place exuded wealth, from its crystal chandeliers to its marble floors that probably cost more than her annual salary. Her worn leather portfolio felt suddenly inadequate as she approached the reception desk. "I'm here for the Hammond party planning," she said, trying to sound like she belonged. The concierge nodded knowingly. "Miss Hammond is expecting you in the Azure Ballroom, down the hall to your right." Emma followed his directions, her sensible heels clicking against the polished floor. She still wasn't entirely clear on whose party this was, only that it was some obscenely wealthy Hammond family friend turning 30, and that the celebration needed to be tastefully extravagant. She pushed open the heavy double doors of the Azure Ballroom and was immediately struck by its grandeur. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city skyline, and the afternoon sun cast a warm glow across the entire space. "Emma." "Thank goodness you're here." Kira Hammond rushed toward her, looking flawlessly put together in a cream silk blouse and tailored pants. "The florist just called. They can't get peonies, and my brother will absolutely lose it if everything isn't perfect." Emma took a deep breath. "First of all, peonies are out of season. Second, who exactly is this party for? I can't keep designing around a mystery guest." Kira waved her hand dismissively. "Tyler, my brother's best friend. They've known each other since boarding school, and he's practically family." She lowered her voice. "He's also notoriously private. Hates any kind of attention, but my brother insists he needs this." "Fine," Emma conceded, "but I need some basics. What does he like, dislike? Is there a theme we're working with here?" Kira brightened. "He loves sailing, spends half his time on his yacht. And he's obsessed with old books, has a library that would make universities jealous. Oh, and he hates pretentiousness, which is ironic considering." She trailed off. "Considering what?" "Nothing," Kira replied too quickly. "Just help me make this elegant but not stuffy. Can you do that?" Emma nodded, already formulating ideas. "I think we can incorporate nautical elements, subtly navy and cream color scheme, perhaps rope details in the centerpieces. And instead of a traditional guest book, what about vintage postcards that people can write messages on?" Kira's eyes widened. "That's brilliant. This is exactly why Lisa said I needed you." She glanced at her watch. "I have to run to another meeting. Can you stay and coordinate with the hotel staff? My brother's paying for everything, so just tell them what you need." Before Emma could respond, Kira was already heading for the door, leaving her alone in the massive ballroom. Over the next week, Emma found herself increasingly involved in planning this mysterious Tyler's birthday celebration. What had started as a favor to Lisa had somehow morphed into a full-time project, with Emma directing florists, coordinating with chefs, and designing custom invitations. "You realize you're basically planning this entire event for free," Lisa pointed out over coffee 3 days before the party. Emma shrugged, stirring her latte. "It's a good portfolio piece, and Kira promised to recommend me to her friends." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "Rich people are always promising things, just be careful not to get taken advantage of." Emma knew her friend was right, but there was something about this project that had captured her imagination. Perhaps it was the challenge of creating something meaningful for someone she'd never met. Or maybe it was simply the escape from her tiny apartment and the stack of bills on her kitchen counter. 2 days before the party, Emma was overseeing the delivery of custom linens when a deep voice startled her. "Excuse me, but are you in charge here?" She turned to find herself face to face with possibly the most handsome man she'd ever seen. Tall, with dark hair that curled slightly at his temples and striking blue eyes that seemed to look straight through her, he was dressed casually in a simple button-down and jeans that probably cost more than her monthly rent. "I'm the event planner," she replied, extending her hand. "Emma Chen." "Theo Davenport," he said, his handshake warm and firm. "I was looking for Kira or James Hammond. They're not here at the moment. Is there something I can help you with?" He glanced around the ballroom, taking in the nautical elements and vintage touches Emma had incorporated. "I was just curious about how the preparations were coming along. I'm invested in this party's success." "Friend of the birthday boy?" Emma asked. A smile played at the corner of his mouth. "Something like that. Do you mind showing me around?" Emma hesitated. She hadn't been briefed on allowing outsiders to preview the space, but Theo seemed to know the Hammonds. Plus, there was something so earnest about his interest. "Of course," she said, gesturing for him to follow. "We're going with a subtle nautical theme, as I understand the guest of honor is an avid sailor." Theo nodded appreciatively as she showed him the table arrangements, the bar setup, and the small library corner she'd created with vintage books and comfortable seating. "This is not what I expected," he admitted. "It's thoughtful, personal." Emma felt a flush of pride. "That's exactly what I was going for. Kira mentioned he's private, so I wanted to create something that felt intimate despite the grandeur of the venue." Theo studied her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "And how did you get involved in this project? Are you a longtime Hammond family event planner?" Emma laughed. "Hardly. My best friend knows Kira and I got roped in as a favor. I do run my own event planning business, though it's still getting off the ground." "Well, your attention to detail is impressive," Theo said, his gaze lingering on her face. They spent the next hour walking through the space, with Emma explaining her vision and Theo asking surprisingly insightful questions. By the time he left, promising to see her at the party, Emma found herself inexplicably looking forward to the event more than ever. The night of the party arrived with the typical last-minute chaos. Emma arrived 5 hours early, dressed in a simple black dress that she hoped struck the right balance between professional and formal guest. Kira had insisted she stay for the celebration, though Emma suspected it was so she could handle any emergencies rather than actually enjoy herself. "Emma, you're a miracle worker," James Hammond declared when he finally arrived to inspect the space. Tall and commanding like his sister, he had the easy confidence of someone who'd never worried about money a day in his life. "Just doing my job," Emma replied modestly, though technically this wasn't even a paid position. "Well, you've outdone yourself." "Tyler's going to be speechless, which is saying something." James checked his watch. "He should be arriving in about 2 hours. Kira's bringing him under the pretense of a small dinner." As guests began to arrive, Emma remained in the background, ensuring everything ran smoothly. The room filled with beautiful people in expensive clothes, all chatting and laughing as they awaited the guest of honor. At precisely 8 o'clock, a ripple of excitement moved through the crowd. Emma, who was adjusting a floral arrangement, glanced toward the door just in time to see Kira enter with a tall figure beside her. Emma froze, nearly dropping the vase in her hands. It was Theo, the man she'd spent an hour with 2 days ago. The man who had occupied more of her thoughts than she cared to admit, only now, as the crowd erupted in shouts of surprise and applause, she realized her mistake. Theo wasn't just a friend of the birthday boy, he was the birthday boy, Tyler Theodore Davenport. The mysterious, private birthday celebrant who apparently hated attention. Their eyes met across the room, and Emma saw the exact moment he registered her confusion. A slow smile spread across his face as he made his way toward her, accepting congratulations as he moved through the crowd. "Emma Chen," he said when he finally reached her. "Event planner extraordinaire. You knew," she accused, keeping her voice low, "you knew who you were when you came to inspect the party preparations." He had the decency to look slightly abashed, guilty. But in my defense, it was refreshing to have a conversation with someone who didn't know everything else. "What everything else?" Emma asked, genuinely confused. Before he could answer, James appeared, clapping him on the shoulder. "There he is. The birthday boy and the city's most elusive billionaire. Tyler, what do you think? Emma here designed everything." Emma's jaw dropped. "Billionaire." The word echoed in her head as James pulled Tyler away to greet other guests. Throughout the evening, Emma tried to focus on her job, but her eyes kept finding their way back to Tyler. He moved through the crowd with ease, but she noticed how his smile became more genuine when he encountered the library corner she'd created, how he ran his fingers along the spines of the books she'd carefully selected. As the night wore on, Emma found herself on the balcony, taking a moment to breathe. The party was a success, the food divine, the music perfect, the atmosphere exactly what she'd envisioned. Yet she couldn't shake the feeling of having been deceived, even if it had been a harmless deception. "Mind if I join you?" Tyler stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the light from inside. Emma shrugged, trying to appear nonchalant. "It's your party." He moved to stand beside her, looking out at the city lights. "For what it's worth, I am sorry I wasn't completely honest with you." "Why did you pretend to be just a friend?" she asked. Tyler sighed. "When Kira and James told me they were throwing me a party, I was resistant. I hate being the center of attention, but they insisted, so I figured I should at least see what I was in for." He turned to face her. "I didn't expect to find someone who seemed to understand exactly what I would want without ever having met me." Emma felt her resolve softening. "Kira gave me some basics to work with. She told you I like sailing and books. You created." He gestured back toward the ballroom, "all of this. It's perfect, Emma." The way he said her name sent a shiver down her spine. "Well, I'm glad you approve, Mr. Billionaire," she said, unable to keep the teasing note from her voice. Tyler groaned. "And that's exactly why I didn't introduce myself properly." The moment people hear billionaire, everything changes. "What's your story anyway?" Kira was deliberately vague. Tyler leaned against the railing. "The short version, I developed a sustainable shipping logistics system in college. Sold it to a major corporation, used the money to invest in green tech, made some good bets. Now I split my time between running my foundation and sailing." "Just your average 30-year-old billionaire," Emma quipped. Tyler laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "What about you? How does someone with your talent end up planning parties for free?" "Connections," Emma admitted. "My business is new, I need the exposure." "And do you enjoy it?" "Event planning," Emma considered the question. "I love creating moments that people will remember. Taking someone's vision or sometimes just the barest hint of what they want and turning it into reality." She gestured toward the party. "Like this." "You're incredibly good at it," Tyler said, his voice soft. "Listen, would you? There you are." Kira's voice interrupted whatever Tyler had been about to say. "Everyone's waiting for the cake cutting. Come on, both of you." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Emma found herself pulled back into work mode, ensuring the cake was perfect, overseeing the gift presentation, and making sure every guest had what they needed. By the time the last attendees began to leave, she was exhausted but satisfied. She was gathering her things when Tyler approached again, this time with a small package in his hands. "For you," he said, holding it out. "A thank you for creating the perfect birthday." Emma hesitated. "You don't need to, please," he insisted. "It's nothing extravagant, I promise." She accepted the small box and carefully unwrapped it. Inside was a vintage compass, small enough to fit in the palm of her hand but exquisitely crafted. "It reminded me of you," Tyler explained. Someone who helps others find their direction. Emma was touched by the thoughtfulness of the gift. "Thank you, it's beautiful. I also have a more practical token of appreciation," he continued. "I'd like to hire you officially for an event I'm hosting next month for my foundation, with an actual contract and payment this time." Emma blinked in surprise. "That's very generous." "It's good business," Tyler countered. "You're talented and I need someone who understands me." He pulled out his phone. "May I have your number to discuss details, of course?" As Emma recited her number, she couldn't help but wonder if this was simply a professional opportunity or something more. The way Tyler had sought her out throughout the evening, the personal gift, the lingering looks, they suggested an interest beyond her event planning skills. 3 days after the party, Emma was back in her small office space, catching up on emails when her phone rang with an unknown number. "Emma Chen, event planning," she answered professionally. "Emma, it's Tyler Davenport." Her heart skipped, which was ridiculous. "Hello, Mr. Davenport." "How can I help you?" "Tyler, please," he insisted. "I was calling about that foundation event I mentioned." "Of course," Emma said, pulling out her planner. "When were you thinking?" "Actually, I was hoping we could discuss it over dinner, tonight perhaps, unless you're busy." Emma hesitated. "Was this a business dinner or something else? I should clarify," Tyler continued, as if sensing her uncertainty. "While I do genuinely want to hire you for the foundation gala, I'm also asking you to dinner because I'd like to get to know you better, outside of a professional context." Emma found herself smiling. "That's very direct of you." "I've found that clarity prevents misunderstandings," Tyler replied, a smile evident in his voice. "So dinner sounds lovely." That evening, Tyler picked her up in a surprisingly modest electric car. He took her to a small seaside restaurant that offered stunning views and exquisite food without the pretension of Portland's trendier establishments. As they settled at their table, Emma couldn't help but notice how different Tyler seemed from the birthday celebrant she'd observed. Here, away from the crowds, he was relaxed and animated, his eyes crinkling at the corners when he laughed. "I have to confess something," Tyler said after they'd ordered. "I've been thinking about you since the moment we met in that ballroom." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Even when you were deceiving me about your identity, especially then," Tyler admitted. "You were so passionate about creating something meaningful for someone you'd never met. It was refreshing." "Most people wouldn't use deception and refreshing in the same thought," Emma teased. Tyler laughed. "Fair point. But in my world, people are rarely just themselves. They're either trying to impress me, sell me something, or get me to invest in their latest venture. You treated me like a normal person." "Because I thought you were a normal person," Emma pointed out. "And now that you know I'm not," Emma considered him thoughtfully. "I think normal is relative. You have an extraordinary bank account, but that doesn't necessarily make you an extraordinary person." "Ouch," Tyler winced, though his eyes were twinkling. "I meant that as a compliment," Emma clarified. "Money doesn't define who you are, what you do with it might." "And what do you think I do with it, you tell me?" Over dinner, Tyler did just that. He spoke passionately about his foundation's work in developing sustainable shipping practices for developing nations, his investments in clean energy startups, and his personal commitment to living with purpose rather than excess. Emma found herself increasingly drawn to him not because of his wealth, but because of his genuine desire to make a difference and his refreshing self-awareness about his privileged position. As weeks turned into months, Emma and Tyler's relationship deepened. She did plan his foundation gala a stunning success that led to several new clients from among the attendees. But more importantly, they began building something together that had nothing to do with business. Tyler showed her his world sailing on his yacht, which was luxurious but not ostentatious, visiting the headquarters of his foundation, introducing her to his small circle of trusted friends. In turn, Emma brought him into her cooking dinner in her modest apartment, meeting her parents who owned a small bookstore, spending Sunday afternoons at her favorite local park. 6 months after the birthday party, they were walking along the beach near Tyler's coastal home when he suddenly stopped. "Do you remember telling me that you love creating moments people will remember?" he asked. Emma nodded, curious about the shift in conversation. Tyler reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Emma's heart began racing as he dropped to one knee on the sand. "Emma Chen, you came into my life unexpectedly, planning a party I didn't even want. But in doing so, you created the most meaningful beginning I could have imagined the beginning of us." He opened the box to reveal a simple but stunning sapphire ring. "You've shown me what it means to be valued for who I am, not what I have. Will you marry me?" Emma felt tears welling in her eyes. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, "Yes." As Tyler slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms, Emma marveled at how a simple favor for a friend had led her here to this beach, to this moment, to this man who saw her completely and loved what he saw. Their wedding, held the following spring, was planned not by Emma, but by a team she trusted from her now thriving event planning business. It was intimate yet joyful, with nautical elements as a nod to their beginning, and books scattered throughout the venue as a testament to their shared love of stories. Lisa, of course, took full credit during her maid of honor speech. "When I asked Emma to help with that birthday party, I had no idea she'd end up falling for the birthday boy," she declared, raising her glass. "But I always said her attention to detail would get her noticed by the right people eventually." Emma and Tyler exchanged knowing smiles. What had begun as a professional project had transformed into a partnership built on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine love. The billionaire and the event planner, an unlikely pair to most observers, but to those who knew them, a perfect match. 1 year after their wedding, Emma stood in the nursery of their Portland home, putting the finishing touches on the room that would soon welcome their first child. The walls were painted a soft sea blue, and vintage maps adorned the ceiling. In the corner sat a bookshelf already filled with children's classics, and above the crib hung the compass Tyler had given Emma after his birthday party. As she arranged stuffed animals in the crib, she felt Tyler's arms wrap around her from behind, his hands resting gently on her growing belly. "Planning another perfect event," he murmured against her hair. Emma leaned back into his embrace. "The most important one yet. You know," Tyler said, turning her to face him, "I never properly thanked James and Kira for forcing me to have that birthday party." Emma smiled, linking her arms around his neck. "Maybe we should throw them a surprise party to show our gratitude." Tyler laughed, the sound still her favorite in the world. "As long as you're the one planning it, I'm in." As they stood together in the room that would soon be filled with their child's laughter, Emma reflected on how sometimes the most unexpected projects led to the greatest rewards. She had helped plan a surprise party, not knowing the guest of honor was a billionaire who would fall for her and who she would fall for in return. It was, without a doubt, her most successful event yet.